as, of course, I am the game on Thursday because I'm a Manchester United fan. We're going to be taking on Roma at home as well at Old Trafford. It's a good start for us. We've been playing well, although the game against Leeds United in the Premier League at the weekend, the less said about that, the better. A goalless draw wasn't very entertaining.
Not.
But it's huge for Manchester United in many ways. Last year we needed to win the Europa League pretty much. At that point in time, it was huge for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This semi-final tag, which he still has, he was knocked out last year. Many people saying, is this going to be the time that he gets over that hump in semi-finals of competitions? This will be his fifth. And I predict Manchester United will go through comfortably. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Roma haven't won an away fixture in England for 20 years. They've got a terrible record. I think against United in the last 6 games, Man United won 4, drawn 1. So Roma don't have a great record against English sides, and I think that will continue. Roma are struggling in the league. They're struggling to get into Europe themselves, and maybe the lineup in the defeat to Cagliari at the weekend is possibly down to focusing on this tournament and getting themselves to the final. Because I think, out of these two, if for Villarreal and Arsenal, who we'll talk about in a second, they'll be desperate for Roma to cause a shock here. And you've got some old Man United boys who want to do well. Mkhitaryan's been fantastic for Roma this season, 17 goal involvements this season. And of course, Chris Smalling came back in that game, obviously on the losing side, but they might want to chuck him in against Manchester United. I just think I've been really impressed with Man United. I think I've seen them evolve. I think he's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I know you're not the biggest fan, but if you look at Klopp and his evolution of a team, I think with Klopp, he's that man manager. He's shouting. He's passionate. You don't get that with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But in terms of the roadmap for Man United, over the last 2 years, they have improved. And I see them going through quite comfortably in this. I see them winning this tournament. And I see them going on to become better and better, because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, finally, I think we can settle on it. I think he's not a PE teacher anymore. I think he's a good manager, and he's developed this team and this squad, and not just the big players, sort of the guys around the edges as well. What do you think as a Man United fan? Has he won you over yet?
Well, this is a team more suited to the Europa League than the Champions League, let's call it that. He's winning me over slightly in that I think he may have taken one step backwards over the last 18 months or so that Manchester United could take 2 steps forward, and who knows where else from there. Because they've got a style of play, but it's not the style of play that's going to win you the Premier League title. They are fantastic at times on the counter-attack. It's been good enough to get them to 5 semi-finals. It's been good enough to, we think, get them to 2nd place in the Premier League this year. They were 3rd last year as well. And given some of the criticisms towards him and the squad, you'd have to say that is a magnificent return. Manchester United fans will soon be asking, if we're that close to the league, when's the next step? When are we going to win these titles? And that's why I say the Europa League is massive for him, because if he can get a title down, just a trophy down on paper during his time as manager, I think many people will say, wow, that's more than we could have ever dreamed of over the first year of his time in charge. But I think Manchester United have changed. They've morphed. Their confidence is through the roof. They've got 1 defeat in 21 games. It doesn't really matter who starts. I think there is now a consistent level of performance. No, they're not Manchester City. No, they weren't peak Liverpool of last season. Could they be? I'm not quite sure, just given their approach to games. They don't really love to dominate in the same way that Liverpool did last season, Manchester City do this term, and all of the great sides in European football do. What they like to do is try and defend well, and they've improved this season. Attack on the counter-attack, the likes of Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood have been fantastic. Even Dan James at times has chipped in, particularly here in the Europa League, and that's another player who's been criticised. I think Edison Cavani is going to be huge in this game. He will start for me. He came off the bench at the weekend. He was pretty much well rested ahead of this game. Roma rested some of their big players as well. Dzeko was on the bench. Mkhitaryan was on the bench. Vertu was on the bench as well. Who else? El Shaarawy on the bench. So clearly Paulo Fonseca looking ahead to the Europa League semi-final, because it's probably bigger for Roma. They will go in as the underdogs as well. I just don't see how they stop Manchester United in their current form. It's become a bit of a juggernaut this season. Very, very difficult team to beat. A lot of players in a good vein of form. And that means that Manchester United are far and away the favourites to lift the Europa League. I think for many, it would be a disappointment, a big disappointment, if Roma knocked them out. For me, I think second in the Premier League and a place in the Champions League next season is good enough. But we know Manchester United is all about silverware, and they will want that winning feeling back. Difficult task for Roma. Very difficult task for Roma. How do you see the game going?
So I just can't. I think Roma are in bad form. You know, the last victory that they had was against Bologna, which was the weekend before the second leg of that Ajax quarterfinal tie. I just don't see it. You know, Edin Dzeko, yes, you can try and hang your hat on him, and maybe he might get some good opportunities from crosses. But I think Harry Maguire and Lindelof will be absolutely fine with that and quite like that kind of game. I see Bruno Fernandes stepping up big in this game. He's been absolutely superb in Europa League. I think 17 goals and 9 assists in 26 games since he signed for Man United in January, last year. I just think Man United win this very comfortably, and I think it's going to be 2-0. I think it'll be a clean sheet. I don't think Roma will really touch them, and I think they'll go through overall on both ties by at least a 3-goal margin. What do you think?
I think Manchester United have found it tough at home, and I do believe there'll be nerves there, simply because they've hit the stage of the tournament where everyone will be saying, can they get past the semi-final? This is their stumbling block. And I do still feel that some of the players in that squad will just feel a little bit of nerves around, will this be another semi-final defeat again? Will a European team surprise us? Will we have, like they did against Sevilla last year, 20 plus shots in a game and just fail to hit the target? We all know that they've got that sort of performance in them as well, where they waste a lot of chances. There'll be a lot of what ifs hanging over Manchester United, just in terms of the nerves, you know, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, because he's looking to prove people wrong. There'll be a little bit more confidence than last year, but I still think we'll take a bit of nerves, particularly into the first leg, where they'll be feeling Roma out a little bit. So I think the home leg will be difficult, but I'd have to agree with you. I think Manchester United will win. I just don't see the same margin. So I'm going to say 2-1. I think Roma will get on the score sheet somehow.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.